on the next episode of Sips, Suds, and Smokes.
So today the Wicked Weed beers we'll be trying are the Pernicious IPA, the Perni-Haze, Hazy IPA, Freak of Nature, Double IPA, Coastal Love, Hazy IPA. Wow, it's romantic. The Dr. Dank Pineapple Dream IPA with pineapple. The Mango Wowie Hazy IPA with mango. Oh man, this is really expanding their lineup. And the Strawberry Kiwi Burst Session. Are these Kool-Aid flavors that you pasted?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Strawberry Kiwi Burst Blast Session Sour.
I just crashed through the wall.
Juicy.
Juicy indeed. And we have one extra special Wicked Weed beer that we'll be trying at the end.
We'll be right back after this break. Brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking host, the good old boys. Suds, Suds, Suds. It's time for more Suds.
Welcome, everyone, to this Suds segment where when we refuse to just drink any old beer that's put in front of us, unless it's free of course. What?
Wow.
Who wrote that?
Is that a real sentence?
And when do they start
You know,
third
it would be
grade?
interesting if someone would read the script a couple times before we start the show. And then
Did we just chat
Who,
GPT this entire episode?
we
Is
broke
that
the
what-
fourth wall.
Don't think
I think I need a beer.
David can't be in charge of conjugating anything.
God bless.
Certainly
Okay.
not
Maybe
conjugal
we'll-
visits.
How dare
Oh wait,
you?
no, that's a different.
It's a whole different.
He does those.
But thank you, Sparky.
I'm
Thank
here for you guys.
I used to
Yeah.
make a living off conjugal. No, never mind.
Well, I'm one
I
of
was
your
young and I
hosts,
needed
good
money.
old gal
That's a
Julieanna.
different show.
Joining me at this great table today is good old
Big
boy
Ginger.
Mike.
I'm just glad nobody's shooting at our show yet. Anyway,
That we know of.
there's always hope.
There's always hope, yes. Good old boy Sparky, hello.
I mean, the day ain't over yet. I think is really the point I want to drive home.
I think that's like, I think I just rang the dinner bell for Barger. He went, "Whoa, weapons! I'm in."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. we better record this episode quickly. That's all I'm saying.
Man. Good old boy Tim, hi.
Oh, hey, I'm here to help Dave put verbs into his sentences.
Whoa.
You're a scholar and a gentleman.
What do you call that? The verberator? Is that what you called it? Tim? What do you put that on your resume, man? I think you should just put it like right in the middle in big 24-point, bold type.
Oh, yeah, it's right.
Listen, all I'm saying is I put a good 15 minutes into putting these scripts together. All right.
You can only hit paste so many times. Is that what you're saying, Dave?
Wow. Hi, good old boy Dave.
You know what? You and I have
Issues.
There's some backstory here. There's a whole couple episodes that need to build this up.
all this is put together well in advance. So
Swiss watch.
What's that like 42 minutes before we turn the mics on?
quick read through.
It's put together poorly in
Quick
advance.
read through
not
whatever.
well in advance.
Those
Verberator and quality
Yeah.
control. I like that Tim is here.
Taste Awards Hall of Fame. I'm just saying there's a certain standard.
Oh, I mean, I feel like we're maybe the best of Nashville.
Ooh.
Yes, we are. Hang tough with us, folks. We are
that-
going to get to beer today.
I think
I
this
swear.
says more
gosh.
about the rest of Nashville.
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
The bar's low.
Recently, I saw an interesting article come across my feed. It was from Forbes.com from a few months ago, and it's about some new things happening with Wicked Weed Brewing Company 7 years after they were acquired by AB InBev. I realized it had been a long time since we had tried any of their beers. Well, any new ones anyway. So good old boy Dave and I headed to the beer store to see what we could find. Good old boy Tim, speaking of beers that we got, would you mind giving us the lineup of what we're going to drink today?
Yeah, of course. And I won't be doing it in my best Roy Williams, North Carolina accent because I just don't have that drawl. Despite living in North and South Carolina for years. So today, the Wicked Weed beers we'll be trying are the Pernicious IPA, the Perni-Haze, Hazy IPA, Freak of Nature, Double IPA, Coastal Love, Hazy IPA. Wow, it's romantic. The Dr. Dank Pineapple Dream IPA with pineapple. The Mango Wowie Hazy IPA with mango. Oh, man, this really expanding their lineup.
Getting fruity here.
And the Strawberry Kiwi Burst Session. Are these Kool-Aid flavors that you pasted?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Strawberry Kiwi Burst Blast Session Sour.
I just crashed through the wall.
Juicy.
Juicy indeed. And we have one extra special Wicked Weed beer that we'll be trying at the end.
Yay. Well, thank you. Good old boy Sparky, why don't you give us the SUDS ratings for today?
Well, first of all, I would like to use a completely offensive accent for the state of North Carolina. And I must add that my children go to summer camp in the same county where Deliverance is filmed, which is right on the Georgia-North Carolina border. No. That's correct. They know what to do when they hear banjo music. But in light of respect of all the tragedy they've been to recently, I'm going to eschew that for another episode, but I will come back to you once you've rebuilt North Carolina. I promise you.
Your time's coming, North Carolina.
So we'll be discussing and rating these beers with these SUDS ratings, plus our signature belching sounds. And here are those ratings now. 1, that sucks. Give me anything but a Bud. Wiser product. Number 2, was that a belch? Number 3, what a relief. Number 4, a body really should not make that sound. At number 5, listen to that hang time, give me another.
You know, it's like the words. You can tell by the words that 5 is better than 1. But when you listen to the sounds, you're like, is that really better? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess what's better,
You know, your whole insides exploding out of you.
You missed the
through some
creative
orifice.
meeting in the basement like 14 years ago, but thanks for playing along, Dave. I appreciate it.
Just now occurred to you.
Yeah. There's always time to revisit that.
Put it in a memo.
I've been thinking about it for a while. You know, I've been thinking about it
He's got a vision board about it.
How sweet.
Just chew the gummy and swallow. Okay, it'll be
for
okay.
You know what, Julieanna? We're still in the outs right now. Okay.
We'll talk about it in the Discord.
If you wondered where you were, now you know.
Big ginger.
Okay, so wow.
Let's talk about one beer and then we'll give the context of yeah, I like this because
Okay.
I need to get some beer flowing in me, and I'm sure our audience needs to go, what is this about?
All right, let's start with the original, the Pernicious IPA. 7.3% ABV. Pernicious implies influence that is harmful in a way not easily noticed. This beer is harmful, not because of overwhelming hop bitterness, but because its balanced brightness insidiously ruins your expectations for all other IPAs. This hop delivery vehicle is crafted to enjoy fresh and often, and because of its drinkability
vehicle
and
a
clean
clown car?
finish, you'll never look at IPAs the same again.
Oh, I definitely don't look at it the same way ever again.
So the hops that they use are Amarillo, Centennial, Columbus, Motueka, Pacific Gem, and Warrior.
I thought that Centennial was probably the predominant hop I was, picking up on.
Is this
here.
Beechwood aged?
No.
And then it's dry hopped with almost as many as it's hopped with. Yes.
Of different hops?
Amarillo, Citra, Galaxy, Mosaic, Motueka, and Pacific Jade.
I just
Lord.
like, why so many?
Well, okay, I was going to ask that question.
So a little bit of context, you have to think about what was going on, with craft beer in the marketplace. So this was what I would call the preamble to the hops wars. This is when everybody had gone through and they were looking at, pub style. Everybody was making a Pilsner, everybody was making a white ale, everybody was making a red ale, everybody was making a stout. And, this is kind of just beyond that. And everybody is really getting into the point where hops are becoming a lot more available, and the style, the beers were moving into more, and more. And so I think that's what I remember very much about this was, wow, this is a very hoppy beer. And it was an explosion of flavor. Now we kind of look at it and go, it's not in balance, or there's, we've had, 400 other beers that are just like this,
Yeah, it definitely tastes kind of like a lot of other beers. I don't know. I do think it's very balanced, though. I guess maybe in the IPA West Coast world, it is really smooth for 7.2 or something. Like,
you looking at me for confirmation?
Two of these pints, I know.
Was that a question or a statement? I'm not quite sure. You're looking at Dave going, and
this is balanced?
I feel like Dave's the kind of guy like who also would have two of these pints quickly and be like, wow, that was kind of where I wanted to get.
And I got there.
Yeah.
I dried my mouth out.
Do you guys remember the whole story of the name?
Pernicious? Mm-hmm. Do tell.
Oh, yeah.
Father Sparky.
So Henry VIII was offended by hops, and he called it a vile,
off with their head,
pernicious and wicked weed.
Oh, well, there you go.
that was banned.
He was at the marketing meeting
once again.
Okay.
Somebody read that article.
And it wasn't until his daughter Elizabeth came and hops were allowed to come back into fashion again. But he apparently did not like the hoppy
So
stuff.
if she did not have daddy issues, we would never have hops.
At their brew pub, they had that quote on the wall back in the day. I mean, this reminds me of like a not quite as good Two-Hearted. To Mike's
like
point
that.
about Centennial.
So it's like a one-hearted. Okay.
Yeah, it's a one-hearted. It's not terrible though.
3.
It's not terrible.
Okay. Well, we are going to rate Pernicious a 3.
But also now I want Two-Hearted, now that you mentioned that.
Good job, Tim.
Well, Two-Hearted
Sorry.
is like all Centennial. This, the Amarillo off this, I thought was the odd duck, probably in that hop blend. And I just, I would rather have the Two-Hearted all day long.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad IPA though. Being InBev, that it's everywhere now. Like,
If you can't get Two-Hearted.
yeah,
And you can get it fresh, which is nice too, a lot of times.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about their distribution footprint after the break here.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
stay tuned with us, and we'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back, everyone. Today's discussion is on Wicked Weed.
Part of what kind of inspired this conversation was actually an article that was published in Lifestyle Spirits by Emily Price, contributor. I love her byline, which is, I cover alcohol, cannabis, and intoxicating travel and adventures. That sounds like us, right?
That's a good job.
Yeah.
I can already hear Barger at the top of the mountain going, yes!
Yeah, you get paid for that.
I'm
Contributor.
stoned. What do I have to do again?
It's a weird last name, contributor. But
Well, the name of this article was 7 years after joining AB InBev's high-end Wicked Weed is thriving was the name of the article. We'll include a link to this full article if you want to read it. But, I think that it just kind of provoked a conversation that, if you did not know that InBev is the owner of a huge, alcohol conglomerate globally. It's fairly beer heavy, although they do make other forms of beverages as well.
Dutch.
And they own Anheuser-Busch in
Belgian,
the U.S.
Dutch,
market
whatever.
as well as
Belgian.
globally as well. And So they went through a lot of acquisitions of purchasing a tremendous number of brands, globally in the craft beer industry. And Wicked Weed was actually one of the very first acquisitions that they made. And so I think this is kind of looking at what happened, are they better off, some of these breweries in a post-acquisition mode? And so this article kind of was answering that basic question. And one of the key things that they talk about is that they have definitely expanded distribution. And actually, they had the largest production year last year in the history of the brewery. And part of that is, Wicked Weed is based in North Carolina, in Asheville. But they've expanded distribution to a number of states. I think I counted 5, 6. So it's North and South Carolina is where they distributed at the point of acquisition. But after that, they added Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, and Virginia, as well as some other select markets in the Northeast part of the U.S. So they really expanded a lot of the geographic footprint for a lot of the beers that they had been making. But we've had some conversations in pre-production, is that really a good thing? And what's really kind of going on, with kind of the application footprint or the common cycle that, are they doing the same thing with each of these brands, or they're doing something completely different? Because I don't think you have to look any further than looking at Goose Island and saying, is Goose Island, better off? They were actually probably one of the very first acquisitions,
They were.
To go down.
They're probably like, man, we went cheap.
Yeah.
So cheap.
Yeah.
So cheap.
So this cycle actually happened through a lot of craft beer. And I think the one moment that all of us were kind of gasping at is when Constellation purchased Ballast Point, which is in California, was for $1 billion.
With a B. That's a billion with a B.
$1 billion. And so...
And ran it into the ground in record time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Obviously, Ballast Point.
It's one of their beers.
That was bad. But but for Goose Island, Goose Island is still out there. They're still, you can still find their beers. And there's a lot of craft brands that have come and gone since then. So in that sense, maybe, these, they are better off in a way.
I know who was the winner out of all of this.
America.
The lawyers that
nice.
who were
handled the contracts.
All these deals that went down.
Yeah.
No.
I played golf with them, so I know exactly who won. So.
Having been in that space and signing these brands, there was a very big difference. Like for Ballast Point, their goal was to get it in all 50 states as quickly as possible. And there was no planning or sustainability model or anything like that. And then, I would argue that when you look at some of these bigger brands like Lagunitas or Ballast Point, their culture was amazing. And it did not fit.
I like how you use it in a past tense, like it's been dragged out back and shot.
It was, right? So they murdered what made these brands special and significant, and then ran them into the ground. And AB InBev has done that too with a lot of the brands they've acquired. This is one of the rare moments where they haven't screwed it up, which. They just offloaded a bunch of brands recently that they had just run into the ground. So I think there's a really lack of understanding with these big brands. You can put Bud Light or Mick Ultra or Coors Banquet anywhere, right? But you can't necessarily do that with some of these craft brands. And I think they were smart with this brand by not just blowing it up all over the country and letting it die on the shelf. I think that was a smart move on their part, but that was probably the exception and not the rule. God bless those attorneys.
So I'm going to throw out one question. When you tasted Pernicious today, did it hold up to where you thought that beer was originally? Did it get better or worse, or was it basically the way that you remember it?
I don't know about today, but I remember tasting it before they were purchased, and then not long after, when they had started expanding the production on it, and it felt like, and maybe it was just my perception then and bias, but it felt like it was different. It fell off between and it's been so long since I've had it now.
Like it tasted different, or it was muted,
it just wasn't quite as flavorful. Like
it
just
didn't pop like it did.
It had too much Amarillo, which is what it had today.
But now it's 7 years gone. Like my palate's changed in so many different ways.
Yeah, we've had a couple of episodes since then.
I've grown, man. I've grown as a person.
I appreciate that. Julieanna was just telling me about that prior to this.
She's told me, she's always talking about how big I am.
You're more full of crap than you were 7 years ago. Is that what you're saying, Dave?
That's a way to say it.
Everybody has to have a goal.
It's not the way I would appreciate it being said.
What were you going to say, Julieanna?
No, but
talk about my growth.
Talk about your growth. Talk about all of our
We need to get it removed.
Yeah.
Again.
No, but
I thought the hair was cute.
Before Wicked Weed was taken over, they were a force to be reckoned with. Everything that we had was great. We couldn't stop talking about the next great beer, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then the takeover happened, and then we were all like, just sort of like shell-shocked, right?
Absolutely.
And then somebody was like, well, let's at least try what's coming out now and just see. Maybe it won't be so bad. And I do remember it being like softer and almost watered down, and we were like, oh, so this is what happens
right
when InBev buys out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now that it's been a few years later, it's okay. I still feel like it's not, and maybe again, this is my perception, because back then everything was pretty and they could do no wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Speaking of soft and watered down, let's move on to our next beer.
All right, so this one
I'm here to help.
Yeah, so this is the Hazy brother of Pernicious that came out last year in 2023. It is 6.9% ABV, so a little bit less than its big brother.
So this is the brother that transitioned to Hazy.
Right,
IPA?
Transitions to Hazy, yes. So the Hazy hop delivery vehicle is to be enjoyed fresh and often. Citra and Simcoe from our favorite hop fields drive the juicy IPA. With its crushability and effortless finish, you'll never look at a Hazy IPA the same. This one is hopped with Citra and Simcoe.
I don't know, man.
This is not good.
This is a lot sweeter, and to even say that it is a stepchild of Pernicious.
Is this what they're
I don't see this at all.
into New England with? Like, I know they're going to do some
I
expanding.
hope not, because that's going to get you a wicked China.
It's just like it's just the most basic mass-produced hazy. Like, it's so boring. This beer makes me angry.
Whoa.
But it's like not poorly made.
It's
just so I don't
innocuous.
And you won't like him when he's
just
It's
so.
You're saying this was really good 6 years ago?
Probably, yeah. That's accurate.
If it was made 6 years ago.
That's what it reminds me of, is just this was a great recipe, 6 or 7 years ago that they came out with. But, we've had, 100 plus other, at least 100, more like 1,000 plus other beers that are in this style that are actually a lot better than this. This is just, I don't know.
Just low effort.
Yeah, it's very bourgeois.
You know what pisses me off about this, kind of going back a second, was, I remember walking with Walt and Luke, like pulling nails in the Funkatorium, and they were like, oh, we'll never sell out and stuff like that. And I said, we were trying to sign him. We had a relationship with him, and I was at the Miller Coors house at the time. And like, we can't do that right now. I'm like, no, that's strange. And like they were just like, oh, we'll never sell out. We'll never. But like, it's interesting because like this beer is sellout beer.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
This is like
Yeah.
if you just want to make a hazy beer that you think anybody would, just kind of middle of the road
It's like when you feel obligated to have a hazy in the lineup.
I'd like to feel that this was not made by Wicked Weed, but by the marketing team at AB InBev.
The computers,
the Don Draper of
AI.
20. AI.
We're here from InBev, and we're here to help. That was what happened.
It's almost like when you make an imperial
not your fault, Wicked
IPA
Weed.
or a session IPA, and you just take you have a really good IPA, and you're going to make a session or an imperial version of it. And instead of like creating a recipe for that new beer that is tailored to that style, you just take your recipe and you kind of just, I don't know,
Reduce it by 25% or up it by 50%.
mess around with it a little bit. Yeah. Or something. I don't know. Just a mess.
We are going to rate the Perni-Haze Hazy IPA from Wicked Weed a 2.
Do better, AB InBev.
So I think that's kind of provoking the next question I wanted to throw out for a little bit of discussion, which is when you are looking at the influence of the, acquiring overlords that have come into a lot of these brands.
I like that.
If you had to overcharacterize the net effects, are you saying that what's happened here with, Pernicious Haze or Perri-Haze is
Perineum.
That it got better, it got worse. They tweaked recipes, meaning the accounting people came in and changed, vendors for a certain hop. And no, it's not going to taste the same, but we saved 20%,
Yeah, definitely like the contracts they have. Like there's Galaxy and Motueka, you were saying, in Pernicious. There's absolutely no way that was in Pernicious when they first made it. Like literally, no one knew about Galaxy.
They weren't there
then,
yet, yeah.
Unless you're in Australia.
Or you were a stripper. I mean,
Yeah, and your name's
That
Galaxy.
ain't a
Yeah.
hop.
The
This is a
Galaxy they
hop.
knew about was the South Asheville,
down to
I can
warehouse.
definitely
Stage.
see, the yield accounting, department of AB InBev stepping in and having a measure of undue influence on the operations.
That's part of buying it, right? And the economies of scale, and we get this grain at this rate, so this is what
There
your
you
new
go.
two
That's what I'm talking
is.
about.
Like, yeah, absolutely, and that's
Somehow
but-
we got too much of this hop, so we're going to need you to go ahead and make a beer with
Which
that.
brings us to our next one.
and it's called
Freak.
Perni-Haze.
Yeah, Perni-Haze. Just call it Perni-Haze.
Well, so
It'll be fun.
the next beer is Freak of Nature. Freak of Nature, as well as Pernicious, were some of their original beers.
Bedrock,
I don't
yeah.
know that they were the first ones, but whenever I started going, I don't even remember 2011 or 12 or something.
And the
pretty sure they
before
already had those
times and the
beers,
long
yeah.
ago.
But I can't speak
I
to the
think they
taste.
first opened in 2012, so probably
Okay.
back then.
Yeah. So I mean, I grew up an hour away, and Asheville was always the place to go for arts and culture and beer
Hippies.
Sure.
and hippies. Yeah,
Dirty,
you know.
dirty.
Goddamn
dirty,
filthy
dirty,
hippies.
yeah.
You hold your gummy like this.
All right. So speaking of Freak of Nature, let's talk about Freak of Nature. It is 8.5% ABV. Freak of Nature, noun, 1, an unusual, unexpected natural phenomenon. 2, an outlying West Coast style double IPA brewed with an abnormally large quantity of hops. 3, a delicately crafted and crushable ale designed for fresh and immediate consumption. 4, a hophead vice or downfall. Example, though warned about its habit-forming hoppiness, they were seduced by the dank, tropical, and drinkable Freak of Nature. So hops used were Centennial, Chinook, Columbus, Warrior, and then dry hopped with Amarillo, Centennial, Columbus, and Simcoe. So
I
what do
think
you,
Freak of Nature is actually Barger's stage name.
Nice.
that makes so much sense.
Maybe a wrestling name. Yeah.
I feel a new tattoo just got born right there. Yeah, this is actually pretty good.
I like this.
I
beer.
have to
it's a
say,
clean
this
West
is
Coast
pretty
style.
solid.
Guys, this orange is Gineminosaurus.
Okay.
There you go.
It's got that little alcohol kind of hop burn, but it's a double.
Right, but it's not bad for
no, it's not bad.
8.5%.
No, they've
no.
always kind of held or hidden alcohol well, I think.
Yeah, but you're going to get wrecked after 2 of these.
Absolutely.
Oh, heck yeah.
That's-
You better
They
eat
used to
some.
be like 16-ounce bottles, I think.
Yeah.
You better eat some tacos.
So
or something
one
with
of them
this beer.
fast enough, and you're good.
You're going to fight somebody or something.
Yeah, I mean, I remember.
It don't take much to get Sparky ready to fight, though.
Well, I'm
I'll say
ready.
that.
I
Let's
would
go
drive,
right now.
Driving from Nashville down to South Carolina, and I'd drive most of the way. We'd get to the brew pub, and my wife, then girlfriend, would walk the dog while I go make my sour order and have a pint of Freak Nature, have a pint of Pernicious, and let her finish the
I
drive.
was going to say, she probably took over the
And
wheel.
and just let me,
Oh, Mel.
bless her. But that was the,
Then Tim would take a nap.
yeah.
they got home.
And then
It's
we got
time
home, it was
for beer
perfect.
sleepies.
Well, this reminded me of Lagunitas, if I had to say
man.
something that, really, it was like, wow, I think it's just because, I think of that as the keeper of kind of what does a double IPA, really
West
taste
Coast.
like. Yeah.
Yeah,
That should,
for sure.
from a reference guideline. And,
You can see through it.
this really kind of steps right into this. This still holds up very well. This is definitely in a style. I mean, if we had it in a beer competition, it would definitely, get a good high rating for me for sure. I think this is actually probably one of the more truer taste profiles of the three we've had so far. This one is like, yeah, I remember it just like this.
This one is
And this one
everything
hasn't changed.
that last one is not. Like it stands
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
It's a bold flavor, and they really went to make a solid beer.
I
with this
don't
one.
think the
Yeah.
accountants have screwed around with this recipe.
Right.
Yeah.
No, which is great.
This still will allow you to nap all the way to South Carolina.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You'll get a nice sleep.
Like, nice beer sleep.
Okay. Well, we are going to rate Freak of Nature Double IPA a 4. Okay. Next up for bids is the Coastal Love Hazy IPA. And this one is ironically appropriate. 6.3% ABV, the second beer to hit distribution in our Beers That Build series. A portion of the proceeds for this juicy IPA are donated to hurricane relief efforts in the Southeast. It doesn't say what hops are used in it, but
Or what hurricane?
Juicy.
Ah,
You don't know. Yeah,
I like this beer a lot, man.
it has a lemon peel overtone.
It's weird coming off that last beer because
Yeah,
that
it's
last beer
Yeah.
lingers
very
a
aggressive.
little bit, but
it's got like a lemon drop kind of thing, like, like those candies.
Lemon heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's such a great candy.
Yeah.
lemon heads.
But I thought that the bitterness in this just reminded me of a straight up lemon peel,
You
it's
get a
nice
lot
and
of those.
subtle.
Here, we can rate this up before we cut
Yeah,
out for break.
it's nice though. Yeah, we're gonna
go with that.
go with. We're gonna rate the Coastal Love a 3.
Oh, you guys.
It'd be a good solid beach beer.
I agree.
You're a
That's
4 to
good
me,
way
Coastal
of-
yeah.
Love.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, it's different but good. Well,
like
we'll be back
Freak,
with
where
more
you-
in just a minute. Welcome back, everyone. So today we're talking about Wicked Weed Brewing, the before and the after, so to speak.
Well, speaking of before, after, and thereafter, so the question I wanted to throw out for our cast today is when you think about the general cycle that we're in right now in craft beer, when you look at acquisitions, are we at the beginning? Are we kind of at the middle of that phase, or are we at the end of that?
I don't think there's never going to be an end as much as it is a different part of the cycle or a different era.
Oh, I think $1 billion was the end.
That was the end of an era and the start of a new one.
I
Absolutely.
don't think anybody will hit that valuation
I
again.
think, there's over 9,000 breweries in the United States. A lot of first and second generation are starting to close down now of the original brew pub era. And, the reality is the younger generations are not drinking alcohol. They're just not. So that 9,000 number is unsustainable. It's just not. So is there an opportunity to get some smart acquisitions in there? Yeah, probably. But there's a lot of dead weight that's going to fall to the side over the next 5 years, I think, as we kind of come out of the pandemic and we deal with this generation that doesn't like alcohol. And I will start selling beer goggles, though, because they need that, I feel.
I have invented a new style of beer. Yeah.
Yeah?
So you basically just take any hazy beer that you've been producing for the last 3 years and you add THC and you call it hazy and laced.
Oh, yeah.
I like
Hazy-
that.
I've trademarked that.
Hazy and
Perfect.
lazy.
I know you're California sober, right? Like that's a thing now.
Yeah,
So
'cause I think THC is just going to obliterate everything on the landscape for the next 10 years.
and I think it's the sad thing about that is that I've tried a lot of those beverages and
The base beverages are not good.
no, they're not good. It's
They
just
don't
a
have
way
to
to
be,
they don't have to be.
Well,
It's
once the industry blows up, you'll get the more and more craft aspect of that. But I think in terms of acquisitions, like the big boys and girls out there are done buying
I hope
these
so.
breweries, and they tried what they wanted to do, and some worked, some didn't. And now I think you'll see like kind of more creative or different money, maybe at some of these regional ones that are struggling because craft brewing is in a downturn. There's just so little growth, unless you're making beer that's non-alcoholic.
I felt like the buyouts. There were a couple of different reasons people were buying. Like sometimes it was, oh, I see a successful brand, we can probably push this and make some money. And then sometimes it seems like they would just buy it to sit on it. And then let's
This
just
is
10
a
barrel.
this is
I
a
do think
threat
that
to
was a
us.
strategy.
Let's
That was the one brewery that came to my mind that just got sat on.
Yeah.
You know?
Reverend Mark and I have talked about that.
let's just get it
that
out
was
of the
kind of
way.
strategy
Just
was
push you off.
This is a regional
stifle some
threat.
growth.
Yeah.
We're gonna kill it off
absolutely.
so we can get more tap handles.
I think they
And
added,
if it keeps growing,
basically,
fine. Well,
they added Washington and Idaho and, maybe Northern California and called it a day for 10 barrel.
because
one
I
of
know
the first was that Virginia
Yeah.
Devil's Backbone.
Devil's Backbone.
They had
Oh
that
my
one like beer that
the
was
Vienna
like one
Lager
of the
was
exactly Vienna Lager.
great
That's what it was.
Vienna Lager, and then
But that was
Yeah.
maybe their first one they ever bought.
it was early.
I feel
yeah.
Goose was
Or
first.
Goose was first.
Goose
and
was
then
first.
Red
That
City.
was
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
pretty
That's right,
pretty
that's
early
right,
on.
yeah.
Yeah, but because
Elysian.
the big
Yep,
breweries, they they have different techniques for carving out shelf space. With the distributors, hey, we'll offer incentives or do different things. Just to get more and more of that shelf and aisle space.
Pay to play.
I have to tell you though, being intimately involved with Sweetwater and Lagunitas and some of these, Ballast Point, some of these brands, and just watching their culture just get completely, because that's what they always came in with, oh, we're going to let you keep your
Yeah,
unique
but you
culture,
can't
and
sip
then
culture.
you can. And
you can still drink on the job.
Yeah, just
and da-da-da.
you would go in to the Lagunitas brewery in Chicago, and they were playing Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka, and it was the trippiest, craziest stuff on the planet. And they just shut it down, right? A couple of months ago. And it's you kept seeing all this unique, amazing culture just completely
Annihilated.
scaled and annihilated.
Thanks for making great beer. Now go get a real job.
Yeah, exactly. And it was always sad too, because they would always, I knew a lot of those people in the middle that were the brand ambassadors that really passionate about it. They're all out of a job now. They're all gone. They had this, they built it up to this huge thing, and then
Welcome to Crystal's. Would you like a 10-pack today?
Yeah, totally.
It's the first thing they bring in is a time clock. All right, now everybody,
Yeah. Well, they did talk about Wicked Weed. They always talked about kind of being hands off, and Goose Island, which we say is still kind of success for InBev. In Chicago people love those bars or tap rooms or whatever they call them. There's 4 or 5 at least across the city that are
A close one in Lincoln Park. Yeah,
they're
crazy.
they're still, when I've been there, there's still a lot of people there.
Honkers
they,
and 312.
I think
the local community still does embrace them. And Wicked Weed wanted that, but I feel like
It's
didn't.
not scaled outside of Chicago, right?
I really think the
No.
one thing that they did very well with the Goose products is that they took them and did off-premise exceptionally well, especially in sports venues, where they gave up one tap handle that they already
for
had.
3-1-2.
Correct. And they put Goose, they put Honkers, directly on,
Oh, no, Honkers, right.
one of those taps that they already had, and took off, a brand that they had been swapping, 4, 5, 10 different times. And I think that was what, really I was looking at that and going, oh, so that's the model. That's what you're going to do with all these acquisitions.
But they didn't.
And they did not.
They did not. It was
they did
a
not
different
copy that
Right.
model
That's what was confusing.
of taking a lot of things and swapping InBev, taps, out for other products, that had been placed in the portfolio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that, I don't know if it was true, but they bought up like either a bunch or trademarked a bunch of like either area codes or like airport codes. And then every airport would have its own, this could have been some rumor for sure.
I would have loved a 615 with the carpet of the old airport.
Exactly. So every airport has the 312, 615, all that.
Oh my gosh. What a bad idea.
But that could have also
Speaking of
been
a bad idea, let's talk about this pineapple.
Okay,
God,
so
I was hoping
we were in the flagship series, and now we're going to the Dr. Dank series. This is the Dr. Dank Pineapple Dream, 6.7% ABV. Dr. Dank's delectable botanicals offer the dankest of flavors to expand the mind, body, and palate. This IPA, dreamiest New World hops with real pineapple for a tropical resinous blast.
It almost tastes like pineapple juice.
I was gonna say this is like a can of Dole that you had to like. I remember like pineapple sculpin, like that was all right.
Oh
Yeah, that was all right.
That was pretty
that
good.
one was okay.
Can we just accelerate the conversation about all three of these
About the
fruits?
colors, yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
I think we should just
think
accelerate
this is-
this and then go to the bonus beer.
I don't
is
think
what
this
I
is
think.
that bad. I mean,
Okay, one thing that's true about this though, it is dank.
It is, yeah. It smells super dank. The flavors are complete opposite. Dank and like acidic pineapple
Does not
Yeah.
work.
does not work at all.
No, but you taste pineapple. Granted, it's a crazy pineapple.
And mango is even a worse idea.
Well-
and the strawberry is.
Okay, but anyway, so
all
the
right.
Dr. Dank
How do you want to
Pineapple
rate the pineapple?
Dream,
Mike?
we are going to rate
A 5?
1.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
A 1.
Yeah.
See, this goes back to what's better, 1 or 5? I don't know.
Gosh.
Okay, and then moving on, let's go to again in the Dr. Dank series, the Mango Wowie. This is 6.2% ABV.
Worst beer of the flight.
Dr. Dank offers the dankest of flavors to expand your mind, your body,
Oh, and feel
and your
expansive.
palate. So this hazy IPA uses awe-inspiring Cashmere and Citra hops with real mango for a blast of tropical fruit.
This beer makes me want to offer Perni-Haze a sincere apology
Can
for
I have
all
more
the terrible
Perni-Haze,
things I said
please?
about it.
This is the worst beer in the
I
flight
just
today.
saved some freak so I can cleanse my palate from whatever's left. So
I
this-
am going to send them a free T-shirt that says, "Please stop making this."
I
beer,
will say
'cause
one
this
nice
is
thing
bad."
about this beer. It does have a pleasant mango aftertaste.
Yeah. It does, but it doesn't taste like a beer to me.
No, it just, no. You
I
put some
hate-
THC in
I
it,
hate
though.
mango. It's the only fruit I hate, and I feel sorry for it that
All
it
right.
got put in this beer.
You hate mango? How do you hate a fruit?
I don't know. I didn't pick my
What did it ever
flavors.
do to
You
you?
don't know about his childhood.
This is
Don't
a really
judge
good
him.
Canadian export.
Tim was
I don't want to talk about it.
Tim was pelted with mangoes as
A
a
little
child.
poutine with this mango.
see
Telling
this
you,
lump on my
it
head?
could work.
Oh my god.
Okay, it's not a beer.
Good.
And it's not good.
Okay, we're
gonna rate it a 1.
All right, fine.
Can we talk about the strawberry nightmare?
It was better than the.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
It was
So
the
the
mango
last
was
one-
better than the
It
pineapple.
was.
Okay, so this one in our fruity series is actually, this is a flagship, and this is the strawberry
What?
kiwi burst. Yes, because when you go to their website, they have the flagship, the Dr. Dank, the seasonal, the barrel aged specialty.
I have an
come in a-
overwhelming desire to put on white boots.
Does this have like a 32-ounce can and it's actually a strawberry kiwi Arita? Is that what we're doing?
Okay, so this is a 4.5% session sour. Session sour ale, okay?
No, that's a lie.
Yeah. There's nothing good that's going to come of this.
Okay,
At all.
so
Jello shots are way better.
so the smell is artificial strawberries.
Oh, yeah. It put the A in artificial
That's
for
not
sure.
even the. Yeah. Where do you start?
I'm here for you.
Oh my God,
Tim.
it makes me
Tim,
wanna
just,
run- yeah.
if you need, I've got you.
Yeah, so
Thank
last,
you.
last
I'm going
night
through a
I
lot
was,
right now.
You putting some freak
Trying to
in that
process this.
strawberry?
I was in this
I'm doing
long
air quotes
conversation
beer.
about cocktails, and we were discussing aromatics. This needs an atomizer that just is so offensive that smells like dead farts that you just do not want to drink it.
If this was if this was a vodka seltzer, I mean, I would not be surprised. Like if you poured this as a
Right.
If you put some THC in this, it would actually
It would
be a
sell.
good beverage.
Yes, that's exactly right. It would sell.
Yes.
Yeah,
You could make 4.5 in THC laced.
10 milligrams.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll call it fruity and laced.
Are we sure this is not NA?
Oh, it
No.
should be.
I mean, yeah.
Is there alcohol in this?
it. Yeah, 4.5%.
You know, yeah, you
By
said, hey,
volume?
this is like a vodka canned cocktail. I'd say thanks. But if I said, can I have a beer, and you handed me this, I would just
I'd
walk
slap
away.
you right in the
we would
face.
never be friends.
Yeah,
I
Let's
couldn't
get
hang
on
out.
with it.
All right. Man, this is worse than the Aldi show.
Yeah, that was a one,
Good Lord,
folks.
like everything just sort
Yeah,
of
that
fell
was
off a
one.
cliff.
I just every time I go into Aldi, which I've like, it's taken some time. I've like had some stranger danger. Like,
So, do you think that this style line, we've had some really good sour beers, from Wicked Weed's, Funkatorium, for sure. I don't know who dreamed up, this fruited nightmare, line, but
Satan.
do you think that, well, speaking of Satan,
got the devil
do you
in
think
ya.
that it was, InBev overlords that stepped in and said, we can market and make this, low
They
ABV
showed them
line
some
really
Have you
work
seen the
well.
Limerita? Guess what
Yeah.
happens when we throw strawberry in it, friends?
They showed some trend analysis, I'm pretty sure.
And I don't think these are infected. These are just
No, they're not.
Yeah,
No.
these are
These are
Not at all.
intentional.
Of course not.
Acts of war.
Their QA's got to be crazy. Yeah, they're not sending out infected beer. They're just they came upon like a shipping
Do you
container
think this
full
is
of
like
strawberry
Boar's Head
candies.
Braunschweiger?
I like the
No
fact that we're
friends.
even having the conversation. I don't think it's infected. That's like every time I cut my hand or something, and
Are we back to
Julieanna's like,
talking
you
about
need
the
to go to the
growth?"
doctor.
We're talking about your growth again.
Look,
Yeah.
I don't think the hair's infected.
All right,
Leave
here,
the hair
hold on,
alone.
guys. I'm going to show you my growth. Hold on.
Oh my God.
Thank God for radio.
And scene.
In so many ways. Okay.
Emotional damage.
Well, this next beer you poured for us, JB, is pretty good. So
Okay.
let's chat about it.
So,
Whoa.
yeah. Okay. So thank you to good old boy Tim for bringing this. Now, this.
So much wood.
It's a byproduct of hanging
Wait,
out in
what?
North Carolina for 15 years. That he's just walking
Sure
across.
is.
Sparky,
Paid off,
this is a
finally.
family show.
Okay, this is the batch 1000. This is 11.5% ABV. Okay, so you're not going to feel your molars. It's
Nope.
okay. Bourbon barrel aged imperial dark ale brewed with turbinado sugar, dried cherries, golden raisins, star anise, rose hips, and plums. Each of the first three brewers at Wicked Weed, so Luke, Walt, and Eric, chose two of the ingredients that were used in this special batch.
How come I have a feeling this is a pre-acquisition beer?
I think it was.
This is a
Oh, I
pre-acquisition
know it was because
beer.
I bought it.
Right.
I'm like literally not joking though.
No, this is right. This is a pre-acquisition
I'm
beer.
ditzy.
None of my money shall go to InBev.
And this honestly
kind of.
represents the heyday of what we enjoyed about Wicked Weed. Because I have like two untapped.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah. And one of them was last year we had a bottle that we opened up. And then the other one was from 2017.
This is a great beer. Very
this is-
complex.
It's great.
It's like 20-layer cake. Yeah.
I'm not getting into the rose hips or any of that stuff, but
think those
turbinado
faded.
and raisins like
right.
all day
Yeah.
long for sure.
Yeah, and a little bit of the cherry, like
Interesting.
like
I'm
a
getting a-
whiskeyed cherry
I'm
kind
getting
of
a
thing
ton
going
of that.
on.
I can
The
see
anus
that.
is
Yeah.
all in there.
But so much wood from like
Right.
it's all wood and anus.
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
No, and this is a 5 because this really represents the greatness.
It has a date on the bottle, I think.
You know what? And we're going to give good old boy Tim a 5 for bringing it.
Oh, yeah. For
Hey,
sure.
good job, Tim.
This was bottled 3/21/16.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that was before in the before times
When we were all young and
and the long
innocent.
ago.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I think to wrap up a little bit of our conversation of our topic today is, I look forward to going back and listening to this episode like 5 years from now and going, we were right or we were wrong, because
Right.
I don't think any of us would have guessed this is where, a lot of these beers from acquisition would have wound up,
Yeah.
Do you remember what Sparks was like before the stroke? Here, listen to this episode.
Right.
Okay. Good
Yeah.
boy, Mike. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. Come back, listen to another exciting episode of Sip, Suds, and Smokes. I will ask you to keep on sipping. Big Ginger.
Good old boy Sparky, thanks for being here.
I will do my all for the University of Tennessee.
Wow.
Good old boy Tim, thanks for bringing the beer and thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. Wicked Weed was an early craft beer love, especially from North Carolina. So it was fun to revisit. And
yeah.
Thanks.
Cool. Good old boy Dave.
My nipples are always hard.
Yeah, I knew it was coming.
And that's, goes with that saying.
You just had to paste. That was it.
This is good to go, Julieanna.
It's not
Keep
that
on
difficult.
chuggling and God bless. We'll see you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're listening to us online, do yourself a favor and tap
Tap it in.
the subscribe button.
Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo.
The easiest way to listen to our show is to ask Siri, Alexa, Google, Uncle Larry, or whoever it is that talks to you on your phone. Play podcast Sip, Suds, and Smokes. We love your feedback, and you can reach us at info@sipsudsandsmokes.com. Our tasting notes flow out on Twitter and Instagram with our handle @SipSudsAndSmokes, and our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news. You'll also be able to interact with the thousands,
Millions and millions
of other fans on those social media platforms. Do us a favor. Take the time to rate this episode if you're listening to us online. That's a big help to us, and we get to see your feedback as well. Come back, join us for another episode, and keep on sipping.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sip, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see y'all next time.